The battlefield was quiet, though the echoes of war still lingered in the broken earth and smoking craters. Human and alien forces had clashed here only days ago, and while the fighting had ceased, the tension had not. Corporal Ethan Hale, a soldier hardened by years of combat, scanned the ruins with sharp eyes. He had been tasked with securing the area for survivors and stragglers. As he moved through the wreckage, he spotted something unusual, a figure standing defiantly among the ruins. Not just any figure, but a young woman clad in ornate alien armor that gleamed even in the fading light. Her helmet, sculpted with elegant crests, concealed her face, but her posture radiated pride. Ethan froze, his weapon raised. The crest on her armor marked her as royalty. He knew the stories. A princess of the Zithari, a warrior caste who considered themselves above all others. Capturing one was nearly impossible, but here she was, alone. "Drop your weapon," he commanded, voice cold and steady. The princess tilted her head, her voice dripping with disdain. "A human soldier dares give me orders?" Amusing. Her tone struck him immediately. Not fear, not desperation, but arrogance. She wasn't a prisoner who feared him. She was a ruler mocking him. Ethan stepped closer, his gaze unflinching. "This isn't a game. Remove your armor and surrender." She laughed, a sharp sound like glass breaking. "Do you even know who I am? I am Princess Arinya of the Zithari. You should kneel before me, not bark commands." Her words carried centuries of superiority, a belief ingrained in her very bloodline. Humans, to her, were lesser creatures, tools of war, nothing more. Ethan, however, didn't flinch. He had dealt with arrogant officers before. This was no different. "Your titles don't mean anything here. You're standing in enemy territory. Right now, you're just another combatant." Arinya's glowing eyes narrowed through the slit of her helmet. "Careful, human. My armor is woven with the blessings of my ancestors. You cannot even scratch it." Ethan's lips curled into a grim smile. "Armor doesn't make the warrior. It just makes them overconfident." Her laughter faltered, replaced with irritation. She had never been spoken to like this, not by her own kind, and certainly not by a human. He circled her cautiously, taking in the intricate patterns etched across her suit. Advanced shielding technology hummed faintly across its surface, but Ethan could also see the faint flicker in the power nodes along her chest plate. She had been in battle. The armor was weakening. "Remove it," he ordered again. "And if I refuse?" she challenged, lifting her chin. Ethan didn't answer. Instead, with practiced precision, he lunged. His gauntlet struck the side of her armor, fingers finding a seam hidden beneath her shoulder plate. Sparks burst as he ripped at the locking mechanism. Arinya gasped, more in shock than pain. "You dare!" she cried, struggling against him. But Ethan had the advantage. Her strength was nothing without the full power of her suit. Piece by piece, he disabled it, tearing away the ornate plating that had been her shield, her pride, her identity. When the final piece clattered to the ground, the once untouchable princess stood before him, vulnerable. Her pale skin shimmered faintly, and her lips pressed into a thin, furious line. For the first time, she was silent. Ethan lowered his weapon, his gaze hard but steady. "Now," he said evenly, "you're just Arinya." Arinya's violet eyes blazed as she stood stripped of her armor, her pride wounded more than her body. Never before had anyone dared to humiliate her this way, let alone a human soldier. She clenched her fists, trembling not with fear but with outrage. "You will regret this," she hissed, her voice low but venomous. "No one defies a Zithari princess without consequence." Ethan didn't even flinch. His rifle remained steady, his stance unwavering. "Consequences?" he echoed. "Look around you. Your army is gone. Your ships have retreated. Whatever power you had on the battlefield ended the moment your people abandoned you." Her chest rose and fell sharply as she glared at him. "You think stripping me of armor strips me of strength? You are gravely mistaken. My bloodline means nothing here." Ethan cut in, his tone firm, his patience thinning. Royalty, titles, bloodlines. None of it matters when you're standing alone in enemy territory. Out here, survival isn't given. It's earned. His words stung her more than she wanted to admit. Arinya had grown up in halls of gold and crystal, worshipped by her people, feared by her enemies. Never had she been spoken to with such dismissal. "You dare lecture me like some child," she snapped. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "That's exactly how you sound. Like a child who doesn't realize the world doesn't revolve around her." Arinya's lips parted, but no words came. Rage burned inside her, but for the first time in her life, she couldn't summon a sharp retort. His words, blunt and unyielding, left her momentarily speechless. The silence stretched between them, filled only by the crackling of distant fires still smoldering in the ruins. Finally, Ethan lowered his weapon slightly, though his voice remained hard. "If you want to survive, you'll come with me. I'm not your servant, not your guard, and definitely not your subject. But I won't leave anyone to die, not even an arrogant princess." Her pride demanded she refuse. Every fiber of her being told her to spit in his face and walk into the flames rather than accept help from a human. Yet something inside her shifted. A whisper of doubt, or perhaps a realization that she had no other choice. "You would help me?" she asked finally, her tone sharper than she intended, as if testing him. "I'm not doing it for you," Ethan said flatly. "I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do." That answer disarmed her more than his strength had. No one had ever spoken to her that way, without reverence, without fear. He wasn't trying to please her, impress her, or gain anything. He was simply telling the truth. Arinya looked down at the discarded pieces of her armor scattered across the ground. For so long it had been her shield, her symbol, her identity. Without it, she felt exposed, uncertain, feelings she despised. And yet, she couldn't deny the strange steadiness she felt standing across from this human soldier. "You strip me of my pride," she muttered bitterly. "Do you mean to strip me of my voice as well?" Ethan's lips quirked in a faint smirk. "You've been talking plenty. Maybe silence would do you some good." Her eyes widened in disbelief. No one had ever dared silence her before. But to her surprise, instead of lashing out, a breathless laugh escaped her lips. A laugh that was half fury, half bewilderment. For the first time, the proud alien princess found herself without words. The night settled across the battlefield, shadows stretching long over the broken ground. Ethan made camp near the ruins, setting up a small fire for warmth. He sat with practiced ease, his rifle resting against a rock within reach. Across from him, Arinya sat rigidly, her arms crossed, still fuming from her humiliation. Every few moments, her eyes darted toward the scattered pieces of her armor, lying useless in the dirt. They had always been her crown, her comfort, her weapon. Now, stripped of it, she felt strangely weightless and vulnerable. "You should eat something," Ethan said, tossing a ration pack her way. She caught it awkwardly, glaring at him. "You think I will eat your human slop? Suit yourself," he replied casually, tearing into his own pack. But hunger doesn't care about pride. The smell of warm food filled the air, and despite herself, Arinya's stomach tightened. With a huff, she broke open the packet, sampling the contents. Her expression soured instantly. "This is vile," Ethan smirked. "Better than starving." They ate in silence for a while, the fire crackling between them. Slowly, Arinya's sharp glares softened as her curiosity overcame her anger. "Why are you here?" she finally asked. "You had the chance to kill me, to claim a prize greater than any soldier could dream of. Why not take it?" Ethan leaned back, his gaze fixed on the flames. "Because I don't fight for prizes. I fight to end wars, not to start them." Her brow furrowed. "That makes no sense. War is honor. War is legacy. My people live for it. And how many of your people are left after this last battle?" He countered, his voice steady but sharp. "Honor won't feed them. Legacy won't rebuild your cities. What you call pride is what's killing you." Arinya fell silent again, her jaw tight, His words struck deeper than she wanted to admit. Later, as the fire dimmed and exhaustion weighed on them both, Arinya stretched out on the ground. The night air was cold, and without her armor's shield, she shivered faintly. Ethan noticed, pulling his cloak from his pack and tossing it over her. She blinked, startled. "Why would you give this to me?" "Because freezing to death would make the whole survival speech pointless," he said dryly. For a long moment, she stared at him. This strange human soldier who spoke to her without fear, who had humbled her without cruelty, who offered help without expecting anything in return. It unsettled her more than the battle ever had. Finally, in a voice softer than before, she whispered, "You make me feel powerless, not because you stripped my armor, but because you've left me with nothing to say." Ethan met her eyes, his own steady and unreadable. "Then maybe you're finally listening." The firelight flickered between them, illuminating two enemies bound by circumstance. One who had lost her armor, and one who had shown her a truth she had never faced. For the first time in her life, Princess Arinya of the Zithari had no words, no mockery, no arrogance. Just silence. And in that silence, something new was born. Respect, however reluctant, for the human who had dared to take away everything she thought made her strong.